they were talking about the AGI ratings, the artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
The point at which the LLM is better than everyone in the world at everything.
Yeah.
Not necessarily not supercomputing yet, but not super intelligence, but just general intelligence, right?
Yeah.
And there's a score that does that, and I think Gemini 3 Pro was at 45%,
Yeah.
which is like three times what Chat was at, and it's just amazing, right? I mean, because you're looking at like the original like Claude 4.0, I mean Opus 4.0 or whatever, and they're at like 5 or 6 or 7%, and now they're we're talking 45. So
they're getting much better. I mean, the answers are making more sense. Like I know with Gemini, I think it's got like 1 million token context window, so I can do extended conversations and it tracks things. It's actually getting closer to talking to like a pretty much expert in the area that you're talking to. So it's really interesting. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is where we discuss current events, personal growth, and any other random topic that crosses our minds. Our goal is to have a meaningful discussion that help us to see the topics we discuss more clearly. Our hope is we can help you expand your self-awareness, develop your critical thinking, and learn to be less reactive to the world around you. And most importantly, remember, be curious. If you like what you hear, like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment. We want to hear what you think. Well, Chris, happy day after Thanksgiving. This is episode number 51.
51, yes.
That's right.
It's actually it's 2 days after Thanksgiving, isn't it? It's
That's right, 2 days after.
It's Saturday. Yesterday was Black Friday, shopping day.
Shopping day. I didn't do much shopping. I may do some today, though.
I did a little bit of shopping. My daughter's phone has a tendency to have the screen fall off, so we ended up getting her a new phone.
Oh.
So, stopped by the Apple store. It wasn't a crazy group of people waiting outside. It was like, 3 or 4 people outside, so it wasn't too bad.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Well, so how was your Thanksgiving? Anything exciting happening?
Exciting? No.
Yeah.
But I did, we had turkey and stuffing. And the stuffing my wife made was more like bread pudding. It was really good.
Yeah.
And then mashed potatoes, which are the only things I really care about. No, and cranberry sauce.
There you go.
It's like we don't make all the other stuff because at the end of the day, the only stuff I care about is mashed potatoes, gravy, and turkey, pretty much.
Turkey. There you go. There you go. Well, what are we going to talk about today, Chris?
Well, I think we talked a little bit about AI because we wanted to talk about Gemini last week, and we didn't get a chance. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's Claude came out with 4.5, which I have not used yet, so I don't know
Opus
much about it.
4.5, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I probably have used it inadvertently, but I haven't paid attention to the usage.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like the AGI scores on this. I think we should talk a little bit about AI. I don't know, do we want to talk about health at all? Is there anything we want to go over on that?
I don't know. I've been doing reasonably well. I haven't exercised in a couple days, so I got to get myself together today. I didn't have anything bad.
I did go.
What's that?
I did go and get my knee checked out. My knee's been a problem. So, turns out on the outside of my right knee, it's there's some arthritis in there.
Okay.
But they're not. He's recommending no injections at all. He's just recommending to start with physical therapy and see what we can work on. So.
Oh, all right.
And he also told me that I'm not missing a PCL, which I was told when I was in my 20s that I was, because he says the knee seems to operate pretty well. So,
yeah, doctors get stuff wrong all the time. Actually, I am literally like shocked at their incompetence overall. Like, literally, it's like their level of knowledge is so low.
Well, we have this opinion that because you go to school for an extra 4 years or whatever it is, that your intelligence and knowledge has to go up dramatically.
Yeah.
But everything's graded on a bell curve, just like doctors, just like everyone else, right? There's the great doctors and there's the less great doctors. So, and the problem with mine was, mine was diagnosed in Japan, and
okay.
I don't know. I've known of a lot of doctors in Japan who make mistakes, but they don't do the second opinion in Japan. You don't question the doctor because he's the authority.
Yeah.
So unlike here in the U.S., when you don't like something, you go and you go to another doctor and try to get another answer, right?
I know. Yeah.
There, you just accept it, and I think that may have an impact on the quality of the diagnoses you get sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not totally against doctors. Just most of them are just freaking morons, basically. I mean, I don't even know how they got their medical degree. But, then they have the pressure of the insurance and they're seeing 50 patients a day and they don't have time. So I get all that, but, as a profession, I'm just not impressed at all.
Well, that would be an interesting thing. Like, if you think of professions that need to be cleaned up, right? Because we understand that there's, going back to my bell curve thing, we understand there's a bell curve in everything.
Yeah.
But we want to raise the average to be higher than it is today.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you want the incompetent doctors to kind of fall off and new good ones. I was just thinking, what other professions are that way? I think probably every profession's that way.
I guess so. It's just so frustrating, though. It's like I think my current doctor has a pretty good understanding. In fact, he may come on the podcast, but most doctors I talked about my diabetes, they don't even have the fundamental understanding of what the problem is. They just don't. They don't even have the core of the problem down.
But you're not talking specialists. You're talking about general practitioners.
Yeah,
right?
general practitioners.
People kind of have to know everything, and I think to some extent, the average medical doctor has not kept up with what's going on with diabetes, even though it's a third of America.
Yeah, it's third. Only 100 million people have it. That's all.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not a good excuse, but it is an excuse in the sense that where we're at today is not where the average family doctor is equipped to handle.
I know. You think you could spend 3 hours on YouTube watching a few videos and you have an understanding, but I guess they can't be bothered to even do that,
Not when you spend hundreds of $1,000s on medical school and that was the way you learned it, that it had to be done. So
I know.
It's kind of hard to accept the fact that you can go online and become an expert on something. You got to be careful, of course, but honestly, the information's out there if you just know how to parse it.
I know. And then most doctors say, "Oh, don't go on, YouTube. Don't watch that. Don't Google anything." And I suppose they're right in some sense, but one of my specialties is how to take 7 different conflicting bits of data and somehow try to find the pull of truth out of it somehow. So,
and that's an interesting thing because I was listening to a YouTuber this week that was talking about that skill, that ability to be exposed to a bunch of data and to, instead of cherry picking the data you want to hear, being open enough to put the data together into the most coherent, likely answer.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it's something I think when we started going on to Google and Googling and in Yahoo and searching for everything, we stopped questioning information to a great extent.
Yeah.
And then when we got into our echo chambers on social media, again, we just stopped questioning anything.
Yeah, you stopped thinking, basically.
Right. Well, because what you were doing is like you were saying, well, I went to the effort of looking it up, so the answer must be right.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
I guess.
Well, I'll tell you, most stuff is nonsense that you find on the web.
Let's say, go back before the internet when we all had to go to the library to look stuff up. We had an encyclopedia. All that information was vetted at a level.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna, it took the cost to put something into print, the cost to put something down on a record, took a high enough amount that it was kind of gate kept, right? There was a certain amount of control in putting that data down.
Yeah.
So you made sure the data was good.
Yeah.
Nowadays, though, it's so cheap to put data out there
and fast
that I can now spout anything I want to.
Yeah.
I can talk about the value of I don't know, green LED lights in I don't know, mitochondrial health or something like that, and suddenly someone's going to be talking about that. So and if I got a big enough audience, then suddenly there's people out there doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, I know. And my doctors are like, well, you got to be careful with AI because, it hallucinates. It's like, yeah, I know. It's like, it's like goofed up more than half the time. Although, since you want to talk about this, let's bring this up. Is I've been fiddling around with Gemini. I got the Ultra plan, and apparently it's supposed to be the best model currently, right now in the world, right?
It is. What you're using the Pro, right?
Using the Ultra plan, whatever. I'm paying $250 a month for it.
Yeah. So I think the model is Pros.
I think
Gemini 3
the
Pro.
model's Pro actually, but there's another option I haven't fiddled much with. There's more of a like a deep think or more a extended level of think or something that I haven't used a lot. But I've been figuring out or trying to figure out how to build a robot, a 6 degree of freedom robot on arm, and the answers are pretty darn good. It gets like 95% of the stuff right, so it's interesting. But maybe that's such an easy problem, maybe it's not really that hard.
That was, I don't know if you've listened to Nate Jones recently, but he was going on about the distinct when Gemini came out, he was going on about Chat 5.1 versus Gemini 3.0.
Yeah, I think I was
and then
part of that.
Recently he's been talking about 4.5, Claude 4.5.
Yeah, Opus actually, the model. Yeah,
Claude Opus 4.5.
Yeah.
And he's been talking about them. But when he talked about the Gemini one, they were talking about the AGI ratings. The artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
The point at which the LLM is better than everyone in the world at everything.
Yeah.
Not necessarily not supercomputing yet, but not super intelligence, but just general intelligence. Right?
Yeah.
And there's a score that does that, and I think Gemini 3 Pro was at 45%.
Yeah,
which is like three times what Chat was at, and it's just amazing, right? I mean, because you're looking at like the original like Claude 4.0, I mean Opus 4.0 or whatever, and they're at like 5 or 6 or 7%, and now they're we're talking 45. So
they're getting much better. I mean, the answers are making more sense. Like I know with Gemini, I think it's got like 1 million token context window, so I can do extended conversations and it tracks things. It's actually getting closer to talking to like a pretty much expert in the area that you're talking to. So it's really interesting. It's a good thing. And I don't really pay attention to the benchmarks anymore. I just spend an hour talking to the model and you sort of get an idea,
Yeah, well, he was talking about use cases for each, right? He says he's been talking about this a while, but the interesting thing was really calling out, we've been doing things on Claude for certain things, right? When you're writing content that's a little more emotionally connected or something, but and of course Claude Code and other things. But basically, he was saying that if you've got a huge amount of data and you really don't have a lot of structure to it, dump it in Gemini.
Yeah, it's good, and
it will just draw. It'll make connections and put it together and show you things that you may not have thought of.
Yeah.
Versus when he was talking about like Chat needs better instructions. You can't kind of just dump stuff on it and say, "Hey, go."
Yeah.
You got to tell it what you're looking for, what you want, kind of give it some sense of what you're looking at, what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
And it will do a good job of the output that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking, and I've seen a couple of these diagrams, but I was thinking it'd be really neat to have an up-to-date breakdown of which models are best for which type of work.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of that, you just got to talk to them for a while, just like a human being. You just got to, I don't really care what degrees you have. I mean, I don't care anything. Let me just chit chat with you for an hour, and I'll kind of know if you can think or not.
Well, I do think it's funny, of course, how they've changed a bit, but like Claude still says, "Oh, that's a brilliant idea" or whatever. That's a thought-provoking idea. And I still need. I need to. What I wish is that we could set our parameters for every use, so we don't have to tell at the beginning not to talk to me that way. But
and that's something I just ignore. I just consider that just personality, and it's like whatever.
I tend to ignore it too, but I'd like to streamline the answers.
Yeah.
So how at the end of a prompt or at the end of a response, it'll say, "Would you like me to create a table with this information in it, or would you like me to do this?" And I'm like, "No, I don't need that. I'll tell you what I need."
Yeah, I know. But it's just biased for the general person. But I'm kind of excited when Grok 5 comes out. Apparently, it's going to be coming out first quarter of next year. Kind of see if that's going to be a big leap forward or not. I don't know.
Well, the last three have been pretty big leaps for each of
Yeah.
them. I mean, Gemini's pretty massive, and they've got a few months ago they had Nano Banana, and now they got their video production. They got anti-gravity now for coding, which is supposed to be an incredible tool for coding.
Yeah, I haven't fiddled with that at all or anything. I've tried the Nano Banana 2. I mean, it's pretty good at images. I mean, it's better. I mean, Nate Jones says it's the most amazing thing ever. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's good,
Well, he was talking about the quality of making like PowerPoint presentation slides and the like,
Yeah,
and the quality of what came out of it.
and it's
pretty
good.
impressive.
It's good. Yeah,
Yeah, but I think the interesting thing really is the fact that Gemini is now this powerful or this high scored on the AGI chart.
Yeah,
It's getting all this attention,
yeah,
and then Apple, because they don't have their own AI, has now contracted with Google to put Gemini as their back-end AI.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's going to look like. And then, of course, all the Android phones have Gemini.
yeah.
So what you end up with is almost all smartphones in the world are going to have Gemini as the available AI to
Yeah,
them.
it's pretty cool.
This may very well kind of dethrone OpenAI's ChatGPT as the main use
Very likely.
AI out
Could.
there.
Yeah, it very could. And I used to geek out on all this sort of stuff, but now everything's getting kind of good. My before I was like, oh my God, this thing can like write stuff, or it can like write a poem, or it can do this. It was so cool. And after a while, you're like, yeah, whatever. Who cares? After just like 6 months, you're like, yeah, whatever. Who cares? But now it's like I'm not evaluating as any kind of a score thing. I'm evaluating it as opposed to if I'm speaking to an expert in this field, like I'm making a robot thing. It's like, okay, if I'm trying to figure out how to CNC something, I'm going to evaluate it like I've been talking to a 20-year machinist that have built, 500 robots before. And how does it compare against that? And it's definitely getting better. It's like, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to hold. How come? And it's, oh, you don't want to hold because this, and you get chatter, and this thing's critical, and it explains all that. I'm like, oh, okay, that actually makes sense to me, So it's kind of making sense to me now.
Well, I think, yeah, so again, when we get to this AGI, which many people are afraid of, right? Because is it at that point where, I forgot, what's the term when it can get so smart that it just gets smarter on its own?
Yeah, I don't know. AGI stands for artificial general intelligence, and people
Yeah,
argue,
it's more.
like,
It's
what
more.
does that mean, right? Exactly.
Well, the understanding that I have is that it means that basically everything we know, it knows.
Yeah, but some people say we're there now. Some people say it's not coming for 5 more years. It's like, so who?
No, I don't think it's there now. And so these scoring charts. There's a couple of different charts they have that they kind of score this on.
Yeah.
One still shows it really low, and one shows it kind of like in the middle range.
Yeah, there's a huge like debate about if we're there going to be. Who knows? Yeah. And I don't,
Well,
I
and
don't
then, of
even
course-
know that to me, it doesn't matter anymore. I just use the new one. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Well, no, I think it matters in the sense like it's exactly what you were saying, right? When you were talking about you talk to it as an expert in a field.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens is it does have the knowledge of the experts in the field. I don't think it currently has all the knowledge of the experts in the field. I think there's still a lot of stuff in people's brains that have not been put down, and it hasn't been able to. It hasn't figured out its own stuff yet to the level that we kind of expect it to at someday, right? When it understands and can think through problems and figure things out and get the most likely result, and then actually add to its own knowledge that way, to the level we're talking about.
I got to tell you, there's been times I've been playing with Claude. It gets pretty darn close because I'll ask it, like, how did you get that? And it's like, well, I took this study, this study, this study, and that study, and like your particular thing, and then I kind of derived that this would probably be the most likely answer. And I'm like, oh, that shows like real thinking in my mind,
Yeah, and if you watch, most of these tools will now show you what they're thinking and how they're thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
And quite often it'll go down a path where you don't want it to go down, but eventually it gets to the right spot. It's interesting how it's moving that way. And I do wonder, is that mimicking how the human brain follows paths?
I
because
think to some extent, because I mean, a lot of the questions is like, oh, I would go down that same path. I'm like, that kind of makes sense, you know? It's like you can see, like Gemini, if I open the window up, it's like, okay, now let me just clarify. What he's probably talking about is this. Yeah, I think that's what it is because we've been discussing it for the last 3 turns. So he probably means this when he says that. And so it's going through, and I'm like, okay, that's very reasonable. You know how it's thinking through that.
Well, one thing I find frustrating when I use the my office's version of Gemini is first they haven't turned on the newest version, and I mean they want to test it, I assume,
Yeah, of
before they
course.
release it to us. But the other thing is, it even within one chat, it doesn't remember much context wise.
Yeah, well, I found
And
that the new Gemini, it's I've been having a conversation on this robotics things for several hours, and it's got all the
yeah, no,
content.
I don't know, because even with the old Gemini, I didn't have that with the 2.5 or whatever. I did
Yeah.
not have that problem when I used the personal version.
Oh,
But
okay.
using the work version for some reason, it seems to forget things within 1 or 2
Oh, interesting.
interactions.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know that. I know I just got an update today. It was saying that now it can remember across chats, which is kind of interesting. You can turn it on or off. So it's just getting more context, which is really nice.
Well, I've tried to turn that on everywhere where that's available because
Yeah.
I find that helpful. But no, like Gemini the other day, I was making a Thanksgiving Day video,
Oh,
kind of
there you
little
go.
animated turkey video,
Yeah.
right? And I said Happy Turkey Day
Yeah.
is what it comes up with, and it misspelled turkey. And so I said, no, okay, make the same video, but just spell turkey
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah.
And you know what it did? It gave me a video of an ocean with a waves breaking on the shore, and I'm
I know
like,
it's very common. Yeah, that stuff still
what the
happens.
heck was that?
It's just missing the context, you know?
Yeah, but it's like wait, we just made this video.
I know.
Actually, it was like the
I
third
know.
version of it, and now you're making beach videos. So I don't
Yeah.
get it.
And I think as soon as it starts to solve the, I don't know that it has to get any smarter, the AI, but it's certainly, I think they're working on memory and context that makes some sense. You know, it's sort of, I think it views context differently. And plus it makes crap up if it doesn't understand.
Oh, that's weird.
So, but I'm kind of excited though about the new Grok 5 coming out. I will tell you that I was talking to the Grok 4.1 voice mode, and it's, you know, on this machinery stuff, and it gets a lot of stuff wrong. It's just fully wrong. It just gets a lot of stuff wrong
Huh? Is that
in the voice
if
mode.
if you were to do a search for the same things online without using AI, would the right answers come up?
Yeah, yeah. Like for instance, I was cutting out this 1/4 inch piece of aluminum, and it was swearing up and down that you want to use an 1/8 inch, you know, bit and driving it at certain rates. I'm like, no, that'll break the bit. It's like I know for a fact it will, and it was just arguing with me. No, 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 this is the right settings, and I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. Or just it just gets stuck on things. You know, I think Grok 4.1 will pushes back harder than just about any AI, and it's just like wrong so many of the
Yeah.
times.
Oh, I have run into that. I don't use Grok as much, so but you know, honestly, I do like it. However, they've built in its kind of sassy character,
Yeah, it's got a lot of personality for sure. Yeah.
right? It makes it interesting to interact with
Yeah.
Grok from that perspective.
Which is fun,
Um,
you know, if it's right. When it's wrong, it just becomes super annoying.
yes, yes, because then you're yelling at it to go look at stuff online to verify, and yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah,
So,
and it's always the same thing. Oh yeah, sorry, I'll never do that again. And then next turn it does it again. And well, I thought we'd. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. This time for real, I'm never going to do it again. So it's just sort of, you know. And then you finally ask it why. It's like, well, that's because of my training data. I just and really, I'm like, then why did you tell me you're never going to again? It's like, really, I just wanted to say something to appease you. I'm like, okay, at least that's getting closer to the truth.
yeah. So, and when it acts that way, I'm wondering what part of that is actually coded to respond to, hey, when they're angry, do this, as opposed to it's like maybe told, "Hey, just agree," or
Yeah.
something like that.
I-
How much of it is the LLM's ability to freely interpret versus how much of it is actually
yeah.
here's what you do in this situation.
And at one point, I'd like to more understand how models work. I mean, I got the basic idea, but they're very complex. How it goes and lights up different parts of its circuit for things. Even the anthropic people, they don't really understand. They're like, maybe we understand 20% of like, we know it works. We just really don't know how it works exactly. And that's kind of
We're
weird.
tapping into another dimension. That must be it.
Yeah, tapping into another dimension. And they're like, we can even do the things too where we can like take certain things and reset exact states. And we have, monitors that you don't have that we can actually see which parts are lighting up and not lighting up. And even where like we don't really understand why it's doing certain things. It's like some sort of a network effect. It's like you understand like maybe these simple 4 or 5 rules, but when you start to put them in at scale, you start to get all these behaviors that you didn't ever really like thought would happen.
I think, I don't know. The human mind is a complex object. I assume a artificial one's going to be as well.
I would think so. I mean,
Well, to have any value to us, or for us to see it as approaching our intelligence, it has to have some complexity to it that we don't understand, I would think.
yeah, definitely. And how the network works. I mean, because I know the Grok 5 is supposed to be like 6 trillion parameters. I mean, that's a lot of parameters. And apparently in those parameters, like pretty much all the human knowledge is stored in some way.
I was joking the other day saying that because I made that Thanksgiving video and it was 8 seconds of it, whatever. And I said, "Oh, I only wasted 1.5 gallons of water to get this."
Yeah.
Because it was like 6 prompts, right? So
Yeah.
it's like a liter per prompt or something like that. And I'm like, you think about it, we are using resources every time we do these things.
Oh, tremendous resources. Yeah, I know. It was so interesting. I was, as we were driving through from my uncle's house, we were driving through Memphis. And he was talking about, oh, yeah, that's where the data center is. He goes, man, that thing is locked down like a fortress or whatever. It's like nobody's getting in. So I'm like, interesting. And then apparently a lot of people are griping about the power draw. And not everybody loves AI, Chris.
Well, they don't have to.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's still going to impact them, but
It's still going to impact them. Yeah.
So I was watching. There's this guy. I think his YouTube channel is 2-Bit Da Vinci. This is the YouTube channel, and he goes into a lot of stuff about energy.
Yeah.
So he's got into different forms of solar energy and the like. And he talked about this one company that's making these. I think they're the size of a 40-foot shipping container. They look like it, But and what they do is they have some kind of a ceramic brick material inside
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
that you can heat up and gets very hot.
Uh-huh.
And then it has these massive magnifying glasses that track the sun.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And so then it takes the sun's energy, it focuses it down through this magnifying glass, and then it heats up this ceramic brick.
Yeah.
And then the brick takes the heat and generates electricity off of it.
Oh,
It
fascinating.
uses the heat to generate electricity. So it's got
Yeah.
a little generator off it. So they're able to produce power very, very, very cheaply.
Interesting.
And you can create a whole field full of these things, and they don't have the same footprint. They have I forgot the size, like 1/9 the footprint of a solar field.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And so I'm like, this is the kind of thing that's amazing when you think about it. Someone's taking other aspects of physics, right?
Yeah.
The materials, their ability to hold heat, the ability to move energy from heat to generate electricity, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Turning all that into this to a cheaper way to make power, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. That's neat.
That is
so,
cool. Well, and
Yeah,
I
I
like
just
that
see-
because that requires first principles thinking and a good understanding of physics to start seeing. Okay, wait a minute. If we do this, if we could somehow, because you know that there's massive amounts of energy being dumped out from the sun. I can't remember what it is. I'm just making this up, but it's something like if there's a way we could like capture it all, even just 1 second, it could power the whole U.S. for like 100 years or something. There's that much energy there, and
well,
so
if you ever, who is it? The Dyson sphere, right?
Yeah.
So the Dyson sphere was the idea of building a world, a sphere around the sun and capturing all the energy.
yeah, right,
And then spinning it around, giving it gravity, and then and we would live on the surface of the sphere.
yeah.
So you make a sphere the size of the distance from the Earth to the sun, basically.
Yeah.
And then there was like Larry Niven was a science fiction writer. He wrote something called the Ring World, which was a similar idea, but you just made a ring
Yeah.
around the sun that was the size of the distance to the Earth, and you would spin that around to get gravity, and you would live on the inside of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, just the sheer amount of energy that comes out of the sun is impressive. Yes.
Yeah, it's very impressive. And I don't know if that statistic's true or not, but let's assume it is. And if you know that, then it's like, God, it's just a problem of capturing, right? So then you're like, what if we took a lens and we focused it, right, on something with a lot of thermal capacity? I mean, maybe, that'd
The
be
thing
cool.
is, it makes the things that would have gotten in the way of thinking of this idea are like, well, can you really heat it up enough? Can you really have some kind of static ceramic or some static material hold the heat for long enough to make it worthwhile? Can you actually turn that heat into electricity in an efficient enough rate to make it worthwhile?
Yeah.
All those questions come up, and obviously they've done that,
Yeah.
right? So now the question is, what else can we do where we just need to change? And instead of saying the sun comes in and hits these solar cells, and then we convert that directly to electricity or whatever.
Yeah.
The idea that we can change the state. When we're capturing the energy as heat, we're switching it into something
Yeah,
else.
right. Yeah. And this is all just basic physics. This is not even anything fancy, This is just
No.
basic high school physics.
I told you and maybe it's college physics, but anyway.
Okay, whatever.
but
Okay, maybe.
but I
maybe
remember
college.
I remember our acoustics teacher when I was in college. He had he showed that, I think I told you this, right? He had a metal tube, and in the bottom of the metal tube was this mesh, so kind of a mesh pattern, right,
Yeah.
at the bottom. And he held it over a Bunsen burner, and as you could see the mesh heat up and turn kind of a cherry red color,
Yeah.
the air would flow through it, and it would cause the tube to vibrate,
Yeah.
and it would hum and make a sound.
Uh-huh.
And he said, well, since the way physics works is whatever you can go one direction in an equation on, you can go the other direction as well.
Yeah.
So if you could take heat and make sound,
Yeah.
then you could take sound and make heat.
Yeah, sure.
So if you took that same exact pipe
Yeah.
and somehow vibrated it to the exact same sound, I guess, as that it was making, the frequency was making,
Yeah.
then technically what you should see is that the mesh should heat up,
Yeah.
even without the Bunsen burner.
Possibly, yeah. Well, because you understand it's the same thing.
It's the same thing, right? So then he said
the atoms are vibrating.
heat is nothing special. It's just temperature, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then it's just a temperature differential. Couldn't you make cold as well? So then basically the idea was you would use the heat to create a vibration, and then you would adjust the vibration to create cold. So his idea was, and apparently there were scientists working on this. I don't think it ever went anywhere. But the idea was you take the heat off of your engine in your car,
Yeah.
and you heat up this tube.
Yeah.
And it causes a vibration. The vibration then gets adjusted,
Yeah.
and then on the other end of a tube, it cools off,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because the math should be the same from a physics perspective, I guess. And so then the idea was you would have an air conditioner powered by the heat of your car.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I think they do that. There's some like chips that'll do that. You put electricity into them. One side gets hot, the other side gets cold. It just moves heat. It's all kind of like my heat pump here. It's cold outside. It's like 40 degrees, but it's warm in here. It's somehow it pulls out. And because you got to realize there's no such thing as cold. There's just heat, and we just call cold when there's not a much heat for us.
There's zero cold,
Yeah.
zero heat, and then there's some version of, are we at Kelvin, or are we where are we on the scale of heat?
Yeah, exactly. Like you get to absolute zero. But even then, the atoms are still wiggling. Basically, all heat matters is just all it says is just how much the atoms wiggle around,
Well, theoretically, absolute zero would be none, right?
But even then, they still wiggle a little bit, according to Feynman, anyways.
Even at zero?
Yeah, that's what he says. They still wiggle a little bit. They don't wiggle much, but they still wiggle.
I thought the definition was they didn't, but okay.
I know. I don't know. You could pull it up on AI, or who knows? Maybe it's different now. But at least in his book, 6 Easy Pieces, he talks about that sort of concept, which is really fascinating because then basically all heat is just how fast the atoms are wiggling around.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think about you take water, and then you probably heat to it, and eventually at some point you have certain molecules of water start to shoot up, and they become not liquid anymore. Now they become steam. and they just float away. It's crazy. And the water never gets more than 212 degrees. So it's a cooling process that's happening. Just fascinating. It's important to think in terms, though, of not our scale, because we tend to think in terms of, oh, like probably what, 72 to 75 is about right. Less than that is cold, and higher than that is hot. And we think about it from our perspective. So I think this is
I think that's a first world American perspective.
yeah, first word. And so it's important to think about, okay, yeah, you got to look at it from your perspective, but also look at it from different perspectives. And so technically that water is cooling, but the steam's still 212 degrees. It'll still burn you, but it's still hot from our scale, but it is cooling, which is sort of weird because like, how can it be cooling? It's super hot. I'm like, well, yeah, it is cooling from the flame underneath. It's not that hot. So yes, I think that's a general concept, is just make sure you kind of look at things from different perspectives.
I think the ability to change, I was going to say change your mindset, but mindset's a slightly different thing.
Yeah.
I think it's being able to put yourself into a different set of criteria.
A different viewpoint. You're just looking at things from a different perspective.
Yeah, but what does that mean in the actuality, to look at something from a different viewpoint?
Well, in actuality, the starting point is you just literally get up and like move and look at it from a different perspective. Look at
So
it from
you're
an angle.
changing the way you're sensing and understanding what's around you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the ability to do that quickly and easily is important, right? To be able to say, okay, this is how I'm seeing things right now. I'm going to change it now, and to knowingly change it, right? I'm going to change my viewpoint. I'm going to think about it from this perspective. I'm going to put this filter in. I'm going to look at it from someone who lives in a different country. I'm going to look at it from someone who doesn't have this kind of education. I'm going to look at it from someone who has this amount of money. I'm going to, and you. Then basically what you're doing is you're adjusting the levers of how you experience the world.
Yeah, how you see things, right? Exactly. Or experience it, feel it. Yeah, exactly. Just change it.
Even if it's theoretical.
Yeah.
Right. Right. In fact, that is I think the skill that really allows someone to really think about something and delve deep.
Yeah, a few people don't. It's very hard to do that, though. I mean, have you ever had the case where like you'll be like two guys or something like that? They'll be looking at something because oh yeah, I can see that deer over there or something like that. I don't see anything, and so literally, like in many cases, you'll grab him by the collar and you'll literally like move him, and even like take your hands and like aim his head, see right there, and you're like, oh, now I see it. I couldn't see it before because that tree was blocking it. I know, that's why I pulled you over here so you could actually see it. So and sometimes you have to physically, manipulate somebody so they can see it. Because in that perspective, the dude that was like it blocked by the tree, the deer was there. He's just like, but in his mind, it wasn't there. He's like, I don't see it, so it's not there. I'm like, well, that's kind of a
I think it's a slightly different thing because they weren't looking at the same thing.
Yeah, they weren't seeing, right? Exactly.
Right. So there's a distinction there. It's if we're both looking at something and we're not actually, I don't have the same view you do because I physically what's in front of me is different than what's in front of me.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You see something different.
That's one thing. So we both actually have the same mindset, the same viewpoint, that whatever. It's just that what's physically in front of us is different. Right?
Yeah,
that's one way to look at it. I'm thinking when two people are looking at the exact same thing and they don't get it.
That's a deeper problem, I'm just trying to extract the first principle, just physically, like just come here, look right there,
So assuming we're looking at the same information, the same fact, the same scenario, the same whatever, then how do we ensure that we both see the same thing?
Well,
right?
That's always a problem because now your background, how you've been trained, everything colors that. Remember that thing on the internet that was so popular, like, I don't know, a few years ago?
Oh, the dress.
Yeah, the dress. If you see blue
versus gold or whatever.
Yeah.
And honestly, I saw it one way. I did see a few instances where they adjusted the view so you could actually see it the other way.
Yeah.
And, I could not see it the other way.
Yeah.
By default, right? But it's like those 3D pictures that they used to have that had all the weird designs, and if you looked at it long enough, you saw 3D images in it. Yeah, so that's interesting. Why we're wired to see things in a certain way. But I mean, do you view people as generally being bad and evil and nefarious? I mean, because then that's going to impact, like when you see someone act in a certain way, you're going to wonder what the purpose is, right? If you see somebody help someone else,
Yeah.
you could think, oh, that's a nice person, or goes, oh, they're after something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, you don't know for sure. I mean, I think maybe on one instance you can take a guess, but you really need to see it across multiple data points to actually
but
see.
the idea is that if you look at someone doing something nice for someone else, and I look at something doing something, when we both see the same exact action,
Yeah.
but your thought is, oh, he's a nice guy, and my thought is, oh, he's after something.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have a very different viewpoint if we have a conversation afterwards about what we just saw.
Very different viewpoint. Yeah. That's why Democrats and Republicans can't agree on pretty much anything, right? They all have just a very different viewpoint.
Yeah. So but I think it's the progressive versus conservative idea, right? I think there's a mindset that goes with conservatism and a mindset that goes with progressivism that has a different value structure.
Well, no, I agree. I agree with that. But still, it's just the value. It's just the structure, right? It's like maybe we could all agree on like one thing, like, okay, we really don't want hungry kids in the world. I mean, we both kind of find that repulsive, but just, how we're going to solve it is a different problem, or we have different solutions.
Yeah, but what ends up happening in the world today is we all go to solutions first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We all say, we won't even agree. We won't even stop to say we agree here's a problem.
Yeah.
We go straight to solutions and we say that won't work for whatever reason.
Yeah, right.
And then because we're arguing that won't work, we end up yelling at each other instead of just saying, well, at least we agree there's a problem.
At least yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think that's the first thing, is this a problem? Well, the other thing is, I think a lot of people, because they realize what it would be involved in fixing the problem,
Yeah.
and they don't like the solution, therefore ignore the problem or won't admit there's a problem.
Yeah,
I think it's actually a defensive mechanism.
Yeah.
It's like, I know this is a problem. I know it's going to hurt to fix it. I don't want to do something that hurts, so I'm just going to ignore the problem.
Yeah, well, that happens all the time. Yeah, exactly. But, as being a good engineer, that's kind of trained out of us, right?
Because it's not reality.
It's not like, just what is the problem? Let's define what the problem. Okay, that kid is like going to bed hungry. Can we agree that that's bad? Yes.
So
finally, maybe we can finally agree with it. Okay, now how do we fix it? That's where the argument starts.
So I think science, engineering, most of your problem solvers really are about what is the reality of the situation.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to make a judgment call on the situation.
Right. I'm just saying just what happened, just the facts, right?
Right. Why did this kid go hungry? Why?
Well, that's a whole why. That's
right?
a whole.
I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to make a judgment on this and saying that their parents were evil or the government was horrible or whatever. I'm not going to make any kind of thing about that, right? It's just here's your problem. Those things are important to understand how you're going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
If you can't even agree there's a problem, it's like, what? Sorry, but starving kids aren't top of my priority. I'm going to go invent a new bicycle. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and what I would want to do is I'd say, okay, the kid went to hungry this day, and I'm like, okay, maybe just because he goes to hungry to bed one night, maybe that's not a problem. But if I start looking at across 30 days, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, now I start to get into the scope of the problem. He's gone to bed for the last 30 days hungry every single day. I mean, this is a problem. Right. Mm-hmm. So the first thing in my mind, how to solve that problem is like, we need to understand why. But before we understand why, let's just give the damn kid some food, right? Right now, just at least.
Well, so now you're subdividing it into different things.
But in the meantime,
because in your problem definition, you've now gone from from the kid is hungry a lot, however many days, right?
The scope.
There's the feed them now was one problem.
Yeah, right.
Right. Fix the problem. Fix the source of the problem is another problem. So you've actually started to parse out different problems you're trying to solve.
Yeah, because it's the immediacy of it. It's like, look, the guy's bleeding out, right? You put a freaking tourniquet on it because that's not the long-term solution. But if we don't put a Band-Aid on it,
If they
then
die in the process, then it doesn't matter what the fix is.
yeah, we're not going to get to where we even need to talk about the long-term solution because the guy's going to be dead in 3 minutes. So we got to just put a patch on it.
But so this is one of those things that in the United States, I mean, I know, the economy's gotten harder on people, but it's just hard for me to fathom. I know the numbers. What 1 in 6 kids in America is or is it higher than that?
I don't know.
Basically, doesn't have enough food.
Too many. That's all I know.
Right, and so I start to think about our food industrial complex or whatever that makes all of our cheap, crappy food that we've got, and the fact that they figured out how to make it cheaper and easier and taste better, not be better, but taste better for us to us, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm wondering, how is it possible that with the amount of dollars in the United States, that would be something that would be the result? That
I know it's
1 in 6 kids goes hungry.
It's like a crime. It literally is like crime. It's a horrible thing.
And how come it doesn't rile people up more?
Well, it does rile a lot of people up.
If it did, we would see change.
Yeah,
I'm going to argue, getting 5% of the people upset. So what? Right? It's the idea here to me is why doesn't it rise to the level of like this has to change at a high enough level across people? I mean, otherwise you think about it. Other people they're perfectly comfortable with 15% of kids or 20% of kids out there not having enough food, so that they can go off and argue whatever they want to argue.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about podcasters. Let's talk about I don't know, the billionaires. Let's talk about anyone you want to. Take any group out there you want to, and I bet you that food insecurity for kids is not in their top 5.
Probably not. Now everybody hates it, but everybody's like, well, somebody else will do something about it.
Yeah,
that's just human nature.
So how come? So obviously, maybe. Okay, I'm going to say obviously because it's not obvious.
Yeah.
Maybe it isn't a bad thing. I don't agree with this comment, but let me just ask you. So maybe it isn't a bad thing. Maybe it's a societal thing, and we're always going to have it, and no matter what, it can't be fixed.
Well, I mean, I think it's possible. I mean, just from my mind, if you're like dumping masses of food every day and there's a hungry kid, it's like, okay, there's got to be a way to take it from here and give it to there, right?
Yeah, we throw away, what, 30-40% of our food?
I don't know, way too much, actually. Probably way more than enough needed to feed the hungry kids, probably.
There's plenty of food in America to feed everyone.
Yes,
that's not the problem.
The problem of distribution, right?
Distribution follows what? Money, spending, profit. So if you're trying to engineer the system to use those same constraints, you would need to find a way to make those areas profitable, to get the money to food to people who need it.
Yeah, if you can. If it's a profit driven. But a lot of times food banks are not profit driven. They're just doing it because they want to help people.
Then what you do is you get someone else to throw money in place of the profit. Right? Is basically what you're talking about. But my thought here is that we know this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's been in every culture forever.
Yeah.
And yet. And everyone will agree that it's something that should be fixed.
Yeah.
But no one agrees enough to make it a priority.
Yeah, because there's not enough concentrated power to solve the problem. So it could be that as individuals, we don't like it, and maybe we do a little bit. Maybe we go serve at the food bank for a day, a month, or something like that. But there's not enough focus to really solve it. Or you don't have enough people with enough resources to say, look, I'm going to solve this problem, right? And I've got the technical ability and the financial ability. Like if you put it's like Musk, this is it. Stop all the rockets, stop everything. Basically, your job now is to just make sure that all the kids are fed in the whole United States. I'm telling you, in a year, all the kids would be fed across the United States. Because he's smart enough to understand it. He knows the levers to pull to make that happen,
I would like to think that. I really don't believe that, though. And the reason I don't believe that is I think the system, which has been allowed to exists this way because of some aspect of human nature or society that is not going to be something you can just pull levers on and fix within a year.
Well,
but,
I mean, I mean, I think he
But
could. You know,
but I get your point. He would be able to make massive change.
it's the right politics, right? It's the and this is what my neighbor Susie does. I mean, she has all these different donors, and pretty much the game is hey, if you give like food or make small donations, then we take pictures and we talk you up. Hey, how great Walmart is, how they're feeding hungry families in the community or whatever like that. How much PR is that worth? It's going to be way less than the like one day away of throwing out. So just bring a truck by and we'll just hand out the food instead of the truck.
In essence, you're talking about a different kind of profit for them. They're profiting in a different way.
Yeah, but that's the game, right? That's the game. She understands how to make it work.
But we all understand that it shouldn't need a game to
Well,
this
yeah,
problem should not need a game, right? As we understand. So basically we understand that there is a societal problem here and we're finding hacks to make it better. But at the end of the day, even though we all know in society that it's horrible that we have people that are hungry in a society that has as much abundance as we do.
Yeah.
It's not going to get fixed, even though everyone agrees it's a problem.
Yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I mean, she's doing something about it, right? And she feeds like hundreds of families.
I'm not saying what she's doing is wrong. What I'm saying is that if it were something that could be fixed with minimal effort, it would have been fixed.
Yeah. But
and it's obviously not a big enough deal for the average person to rise to the level where they're willing to put in the effort.
No, because it's full time. I mean, it's all she does full time. She's like, I'm a food pusher. It's
but
like
if everyone was involved, it wouldn't be full time for everyone. It's not like it would take 100% of America's effort to do this.
No, right.
Right? But it would take 1% of 100% of America's effort, it would take a little bit of everyone to acknowledge that this is something worth doing.
Yeah, but that's just human nature work. So, instance, like let's say you have a crowd of people, right, around. Let's say a woman's getting raped by some dude. The chance of, if there's 100 people surrounding, the chance of her being continued to rape is very high. As opposed to if you just have one person by themselves, they'll probably step in at that point. Just because human nature is, I'm sure someone else will do it. Somebody else will do it. Yeah.
No, it's the mob mentality. You know, I used to joke all the time that we have one brain and it's split up by the number of people that are there.
Yeah.
So if you have 10 people in a room, you have 1/10 of a brain.
Yeah. Right.
And in a mob, if you have 100, I would actually argue that in a group of 100, you probably would get someone. But I think you're right. Just because there's a large group does not necessarily mean.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, on a per person basis, they go down. But in an overall, I think someone would step up. So there's a distinction. But I get your point. The overall.
It's just less likely to happen. Yeah.
But so Scott, but basically what you're saying is then we shouldn't worry about child hunger because that's just part of human nature. You're not saying that, but I'm commenting you.
I mean, I think it becomes a part of like what kind of world do you want to live in? This is leadership, right? This is, am I willing to take?
This is one of those things that I think if someone believed it and believed in it enough to make it one of their core priorities.
Yeah, right.
They could talk about it. They could influence change. They could make it happen. Maybe this is a politician that does this, right? I mean, what's his name who got elected in New York as the mayor had 2 or 3 points about affordability that he made over and over again, and that seemed to catch on.
Yeah.
Maybe childhood hunger is something. Maybe water and power is something that someone could go on to. There are all these things that are critical to our life.
Yeah.
That really we put up with an inefficient system. I mean, you talked about you live in a world where if you're smarter than average, everything looks horrible to you because it's horribly created. This is one of those things, right? Well, even if you can't see the solution, you know there's one available. You know one can be figured out, and you see that the world puts up with this crap.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right, society puts up with hungry kids. Society puts up with areas that have bad water or don't have power or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
In a world in a society with as much wealth and abundance as we have, we still have these inequalities.
Yeah.
And so the answer is, well, that's going to be hard to do. We're always going to have inequalities, and you just accept it.
Yeah.
See, it's one thing to acknowledge that the world is always going to have inequalities, and it's going to be hard to do. It's another thing to just accept it.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, I know. And it just depends on what individual. I just think that each person has way more influence than they think they do, because everybody's like, oh, I don't want to get involved, I don't want to do this. It's like,
Well, this is another argument for your comment about, you need to act.
yeah,
We need to do something,
yeah,
right? And so we can opine about all this. We can theorize about solutions. We can do all this stuff. But like you said, your neighbor goes out and does something.
yeah, right.
Is it the 100% best optimized thing she could do? Maybe not.
Probably not.
But the idea is that she's making an impact on what she wants to make an impact.
An
on.
impact,
She's
yeah,
actually acting on it, right?
Acting on it, yeah.
And so I think it's not just a problem for you and I; it's a problem in general for people
Yeah.
who are like, oh, I feel bad about that, so I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And that's where you start.
Yeah,
That's
I
where
know.
you stop.
Yeah. And that's the problem, the social media, social warrior, justice, whatever they are or whatever. All they do is they just comment on Facebook. They don't actually do anything.
But it's just not just one side; it's both sides.
No, I know, but I'm
So
just picking them up.
the social justice warrior is one side of the equation. I think on the other side of the equation, you've got the same mindset people are in, right? It's like I'm gonna talk about how horrible this politician is. I'm gonna talk about how horrible that group of people is. I'm gonna talk about and what ends up happening is, because they're trying to be black and white in their thinking,
Yeah.
they also limit themselves, and then they're no longer able to have a conversation.
Yeah,
Right.
I just pick them out because they annoy me the most, actually.
They annoy me a lot less than they used to, because I'm now of an opinion that everyone's flawed in this way.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
It's a human thing.
So
yeah.
and I try to find the equal level of craziness on the other side of the spectrum.
It could be. It could not be equal, and it doesn't have to be equal. I mean, it may be. I mean, that's the politically correct thing to say, is like, yeah, it's equal on both sides, but I don't know that it is.
Oh, It is, and it isn't. What are you measuring?
Well, yeah. How do you measure it? What are you measuring?
Yeah,
And there's no doubt there's craziness on both sides, but like, how crazy is crazy?
Are you measuring what words come out of people's mouths on social media? Then probably one side's more vocal than the other.
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about how people spend their money or how they vote? Then one side might be more different than the other. So in aggregate, it's all the same.
See, I don't know that I agree with that. I'd have to analyze it and actually see, if it's actually the same or not. I mean, I know human nature is very similar.
Yeah, no, I think it's a tendency for people to act in the way they do, right?
Yeah.
So, and I do think there are behaviors that I would more associate with progressives than conservatives.
Well, and I would much rather be on the conservative side, just because you typically look at the big blue cities, right? Or historically crime was just out of control. Because I'm like, that's because you're not punishing the criminal. There's a problem in that. Because if you don't punish them, they'll keep doing it. I mean, the concept of, and this is a true law, of the fact that as long as you go into a store, as long as you steal less than $900, nobody's going to do anything. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. What you're going to get is a lot of like $899 thefts, right?
So you're talking about a legal system that is more progressive than other places. You're not talking about individuals at this point.
Well, I'm talking about individuals set the policies, right? I mean, somebody has to agree to the fact that, yeah, somebody had to make the rule that, hey, if you steal less than 900, let's just forget about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a bad idea, because what that does is that encourages that behavior. It encourages $899 of stealing. And so as long as you're okay with that, but it turns out that there's all sorts of problems with that, because the companies are getting stole from. They're like, listen, we're going to move out of California. We're not opening our stores because we can't make any money anymore. Mm-hmm. And so we'll go to Arizona, or we'll go anywhere but California or Chicago or New York, right? Because we can't make any money.
So, but what happens next?
Well, I don't know what happens next. I don't know. Now the people don't have the level of services until finally they're like, oh, maybe we should actually start punishing people for doing this. And then maybe the store.
So the laws will change to adapt to whatever the system means. I mean, the system figures itself out, right?
Maybe. I don't know. Does it?
So, the idea here being, if someone realized that was the source of the problem, then they would need to address that. Yeah, it's the whole idea of letting the system figure itself out. Yes, it's going to have problems, and yes, it can be influenced by individuals that might steer it the wrong way at some point. But at some point, it figures itself out, right? So
well, maybe. But how
my
long
concern
will it
my
take?
concern is more the idea of the closed mindedness of both sides on this, and it's usually to get very defensive on what it is. So. I'm going to go and talk about, let's talk about gun control if you want to talk about that.
Okay, gun
You know,
control. Yeah.
I think the idea that there should be, that to even talk about laws around gun control is wrong because it's dangerous and a slippery slope is ignoring the fact that a lot of people die from guns. That's it.
But we have a lot of gun control laws. There's a lot of laws around guns.
Oh, so it's okay the number of people that die today is what you're saying.
Oh, I didn't talk about.
I'm gonna straw man you on this because this to me is the problem. It's like, what is the problem? The problem is a lot of people die from guns. That's it. Do you agree? Do you agree that that's a problem or not?
Hang on. A lot of people die from guns. Would I like to reduce the number? Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so but then now the argument that most people argue is that okay, we take all the guns away and that'll solve the problem.
I haven't said anything about how to do it.
I understand. I know you haven't, but that's what they'll say. And I'm like, okay. I mean, there's no doubt if you could, that would probably reduce it. Maybe. I don't know. It depends on who's actually doing the shooting. Right?
Okay, no. Come on, don't go down that path. If you got rid of 100% of guns in America today, gun deaths would go down.
Well, you're
not death. I'm not talking deaths. Gun deaths would go down.
Oh, if you could, right? If you could take all of them away.
I didn't say how, but you want to bring up getting rid of guns, and you say someone else. I didn't know. I said I want to lower gun deaths.
You lower gun deaths. Okay, right.
That's what I said. You went into control, getting rid of guns, and I didn't say that.
Okay, well, I think that's where you're
but
going.
You see, this is the problem we have when we talk about gun control. Is that there's assumptions that are being made by one side or the other, and you immediately go into a defensive position, and so this is why I'm saying it's both sides are equally crazy on whatever happens to trigger them.
So because when you say gun control, that means you want to control access to guns, is by the very definition. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, well, there's a lot of gun control laws in effect right now. Like if you like,
yeah. Well, Scott, and I'm going to say, and they're so effective. Just because we have something doesn't mean it works.
No, right, exactly, yeah. Well, you have to ask how well does it work.
So then what I could say is, but we need to improve it.
Okay, sure, fair enough, yeah.
Right. Now, what thought's going to go through someone's mind who doesn't want who's resistant to this idea? Oh, they're going to start thinking of draconian measures and taking away people's weapons, all these other things.
Well, so I would ask this question: is it legal guns that are doing the problem, or is it illegal guns that are doing the problem?
And I'm going to say this: I don't care.
Well, I do care because you want to. Because
I need to define the problem. Scott,
yeah.
If one so now I'm going to say, if I know that zero guns will have more gun deaths, and all I care about is gun deaths.
Yeah, right.
Right. Then that is the extreme. Someone's going to be like, "Oh, get rid of 100% of the guns."
I know.
And then you need to have a conversation with them saying, "Well, that isn't viable because of." And then we have the because of conversation of Second Amendment, all these other types of things, right? But then when you have someone else saying, the number of deaths, gun deaths in America are just the price we pay.
It could be, yeah. I mean, to a certain amount, there's
a
certain truth to that. Yeah.
Hungry kids in America are just the price we pay.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
People who don't have enough drinking water in their hometown because of corrupt companies who pollute the water. That's just the price we pay.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Here's the problem with that argument, right? It's like people dying from guns is different than hungry kids. It's a very different thing. There is no upside to having hungry kids. Zero. The price we pay for what? Is my question.
The price we pay for the cheap food that the rest of America is able to get. It's the price we pay for the profits that we're making off these companies that people buy stocks in. It's the price we pay. It's the price we pay for the lifestyle we live.
So if you're saying then that there's a benefit to society for having hungry kids, I'm going to probably push back against that argument. I don't know that there's a benefit. I mean, there might be a benefit to a very small group of people, but I don't think it's good for society overall. Now, if you apply that same argument to guns and you say, well, there's no upside to having a gun, it's like, oh yes, there is. There is positive effects to having a gun.
I'm not getting into to upside downside at all.
But you have to. You have to be nuanced in it. I mean, if you want to have a
Why?
general thing,
Why?
because you need to understand the problem. We just talked about defining the problem. What is the problem?
The problem is too many people die from guns in America. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. But why? You got to go into why.
Why does that matter?
Because it matters, because you need to know where to put the effort to solve the problem.
Okay, so it matters when we get to solutioning.
Of course, yeah.
All right, but see, so the idea here was, if we agree that there's too many people die, because you went down the path like I'm trying to get rid of all guns. I didn't say I was trying to get rid of all guns.
No, I went there because that's the argument. Yeah, that's the Democratic
That's the argument. Yeah, but my point is, if you're not willing to open up the conversation that we can adjust gun control somehow to get a better result with a number of deaths of guns.
But see, already though you're applying a solution, right? The argument you skipped ahead. You said too many people die from guns. Yes, and then we need gun control, right? You went to the solution right away?
No.
Yeah, you did.
No. Think about what I said. You can adjust gun control.
But yeah, that controls the guns. That may or may not solve the people.
Okay, so then, so you're thinking that there's a way to solve it without controlling the number of guns in America?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm saying we already have gun laws, lots of them in effect right now.
Yep, we do.
Lots of them. And so
California has some of the strictest ones. Yep,
so
I know.
My question is that people who have guns legally are where's the bulk of the problem?
Generally not a problem. Yeah.
Or is it coming from people who have illegal guns?
What second sentence?
Are the deaths coming from people with illegal guns? Because we already have
generally
gun
not.
control.
Generally not. I mean the ones that are high profile with mass shootings and stuff often are, but in general, no.
There's some are and some are. It depends. Yeah.
Oh, generally most of the large scale shootings we hear about are people who got their guns legally. It's the illegal guns are the most, but of course most of the deaths are in criminal activity that's happening. That we don't see where it's one or two people getting shot.
Yeah, so then I think you got to break it up, right? Because now you say that, well, then maybe the laws aren't as effective as we want them to be.
So you want me to break up the problem as criminal gun deaths?
I mean, you don't have to. I'm saying, listen, we want more gun laws is where you went to.
I went to less guns is the solution, yes.
Yeah, if you take away guns.
No, I didn't. I did not. That wasn't in my mind. Better control of guns.
Better control of guns. Okay, so who are you going to want to control with the guns?
All guns.
All guns, but who?
So basically, I want all the criminals to lose their guns.
Okay, well that's I would agree with that. I don't have a problem.
That's gun control.
Yeah, I know we got lots of gun control. I know. I don't disagree with
that's gun control.
I don't want a felon having a gun.
I don't want a crazy person having a gun.
No, I don't.
So Scott, my question to you though is, how do I have a conversation that's where gun control needs to go, without talking about gun control?
Well, you can't. If you said I want to talk about gun control, but I don't want to talk about gun control. It's like which?
Yeah, and so the issue is, and as soon as you mention gun control to anyone who's worried about this, they're going to start getting defensive. It's like, or they'll either see the slippery slope a part of this, right? And so suddenly it's like, okay, now it's like you are okay with the number of deaths in America due to criminal activity and people who illegal guns and all the different types of things, right? Because suicide is also, I guess, technically, you could argue that, but you got all these aspects, and suddenly you can't have the conversation because someone gets defensive. On where they
exactly. Yeah, because they're not
right.
It through.
And I see that. You want to talk about the social justice warrior? To me, gun control is the other side of that.
Yeah. I suppose. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, to me, I just think that. I don't think it's crazy, right? In my mind.
You don't think it's crazy? I think it's crazy that you can't talk about gun control to someone based upon the number of people who are dying without them shutting down.
Okay, yeah, all right. Well,
and that to me is the same thing as a social justice warrior is. As soon as you criticize someone's, their characterization of themselves, their gender, anything about themselves, right? Like that, they shut down.
Yeah.
They're not going to have that conversation with you.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not open to the conversation, and neither is the other side. So every side is equally crazy. It's just what they're crazy about.
Well, see, when you say equally crazy, that's a bad argument.
That's
Actually, see, I think in your opinion it's equal, but you don't know if it's equal or not. You're just there's an
they're all
argument for
human
that.
beings. They're all human beings. They're all equally crazy. That's it.
I see. That is such a fallacy right there.
Yeah, no, because if you say they're not equally
but it's
crazy,
a logical fallacy.
if you say they're not all equally crazy, Scott, then you're saying one's better than the other.
Yeah, correct. Some. I'm not saying the person's better. I'm saying the idea is more effective
Why is effective better?
because it's closer to the optimal solution.
The optimal solution has to be what? Because
Well, that
what
has to be
are
anything.
you
It's just-
what are you optimizing for?
Well, yeah. These are questions.
I'm optimizing for social cohesion. I'm optimizing for individual rights. I'm optimizing for life. I'm optimizing for, that's what I'm optimizing for, and that's not necessarily what you're optimizing for. So what are you optimizing for? That you're judging one side's better than the other, or one idea is better than the other.
Well, it depends on what you're optimizing for, right? So you're asking me what I'm optimizing for. I'm optimizing that people have as much freedom as they possibly can, as long as they don't take freedom away from somebody else. I like that idea. I'm optimizing for that power is spread out as much as possible so that power is not centrally controlled in one particular location, because I know human nature is that as soon as somebody gets more and more power, literally their mind becomes distorted and they think they're better than everybody else. I'm trying to optimize against the worst parts of human nature is what I'm trying to optimize against. I'm trying to bring out the best parts of human nature, and I'm trying to suppress the worst parts. This is why we have every law. This is why, if you assault somebody, you go to jail, you get in trouble, right? I mean, these are laws that have been established for a long time in our country.
So the viewpoint that I take, that everyone is equally crazy, is I want to start with the idea that everyone has value. And not only does everyone have value, but I'm not going to judge them
Yeah.
on what they think. I may judge them a little bit on how they think, in which case I want them to learn how to think better.
Yeah, of course.
I may look at one side of the equation as being less logical,
Yeah.
and their thinking's not as good,
Yeah.
right? And so if you wanted to tell me on a particular left-right issue or conservative progressive issue that the thinking's not as good on one side as it is on the other, I'm open to talking about that. But to me, the craziness is still there.
Well,
I will find a topic which shows the other side is crazy as well.
Here's the argument. Here's your fallacy, though. You're saying that just because they're crazy on both sides, you're saying they're equally as crazy. That's the logic, and that is, and I don't know what the name of it, but it is one of the major logical. So you're committing a very profound logical fallacy.
I'm saying if I take people from one side and the other,
Yeah.
one side is not crazier than the other.
Yeah, see, that's a profound fallacy you're doing right
because at the end of the day, they're all people, and whatever opinions they have across the spectrum of all opinions.
Yeah.
Right now, if you take an individual who happens to be better at logic,
Yeah.
if you take an individual who happens to be better educated, if you take there are certain things that if I compare that person or that group of people with that characteristic against another, I might say that the logic is better on one side or the other, or the thinking and critical thinking is better on one side than the other. But when I just take people in mass,
Yeah.
and I don't know what group of people I'm taking, and I'm not. I'm looking at all of their ideas and thoughts
Yeah.
in mass.
Yeah.
So I look at everything on the conservative side or everything on the liberal side. Everyone's equally crazy. That's
Yeah,
it.
see, that is a huge fallacy right there. Because you're saying everybody's equally crazy, and I don't think so.
Everyone's equally crazy.
Yeah, see, that's a bad assumption, actually. That is so black and white thinking. It's unnuanced. There's all sorts of logical fallacies with that. I just named two.
Why?
What's that?
Well,
I just told you
why is it bad to think that everyone is equally crazy?
Because it's not true. Because basically what you're doing is you're making that's black and white thinking, that's generalization. There's two really bad arguments you just made, fallacies you just made right there.
Scott, show me where this is a problem to think this way.
Where it's a problem?
Yeah, why is this a problem? If I think that
I just
the
told
left
you, I
and
just
the
gave
right,
you two reasons as to why.
those don't show me where it breaks down.
Because you're making a generalization. It's called black and white thinking. That's the problem. You're thinking there's crazy here, there's crazy there. You're not looking at scale. You're just saying everybody's crazy. And that's
Everyone's equally crazy.
And when you say everybody is not crazy. Everybody, that's a generalization. Whenever you say
everybody's crazy. We're all crazy.
Okay, whatever.
My argument, so the argument goes down to this: we're all the same. And so when someone on one side says something that sounds crazy, and I look at it, I go, okay, why are they thinking this way? What's going on in their mind? What's going on? What's the background? What's their experience, right? And I say, can I find something equally crazy on the other side? I probably can.
Well, yeah, but is it how mass is the psychosis, right?
What does that have to do with it?
Because it's an issue of scale. You're leaving out scale is one of the huge problems with your argument. You're saying just because I see crazy there and I see crazy there, everybody's crazy. I mean, that is a big logical fallacy jump. A huge area.
What happens? What is the benefit of me not assuming that everyone is equally crazy?
Because it's not true.
So what? What does the truth have to do with it?
Well, okay,
what is the benefit of me not assuming that everyone's crazy?
I mean,
if I assume everyone's crazy, if I assume everyone's crazy, I come from a standpoint that everyone's got a valid point, that everyone has information that they're working off of, that everyone is logical and I can talk to them and have a conversation, that everyone is equal in the sense that I can now interact with people on both sides of the equation and try to get them to understand each other. That is what it happens when I start with everyone is equally crazy.
Well,
if I start off with saying this side is crazier than this side, then I come in with a value judgment that says I need to work on you more than you because you're the one who's out there. In other words, you're saying you're better than this side's better than that side is what you're saying. You're making a value judgment that one group is better than another, and I'm saying no, they're not. They're all equal.
I didn't say that one side is better. I'm saying one side might be closer to an optimal answer. Is what I said. So in that case, they may have a better solution to a problem. Absolutely.
A specific problem. I'm not talking about one specific problem. I'm talking about everything.
Okay, if you just want to generalize everything and say everybody's crazy, it's like, okay, whatever, fine. I don't want to talk to you, though.
Well, if I start with that aspect, then I can look at each individual thing and say, okay, who's weighted here on this particular topic? And let's talk about gun control. Let's talk about genders. Let's talk about whatever it is. And we can say, okay, this group is talking about this from this aspect. That group's talking about that from that aspect, right? And then if I can now look at, if instead of me discounting someone because they have a crazy idea, I could say, oh, this is how this group's craziness comes out. Versus this group over here, this is how their craziness comes out.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as you start to say one's crazy and the other one's not, then there's a value judgment in place. So what I need to do is keep in my mind balance the fact that everyone's crazy, and now I'm going to come in here and say, okay, on this particular topic, let's talk about what the pieces of this.
I mean, if you want, I mean, if that's the way your mind works, it's like, okay, it's like I don't.
This is the way I keep respect for both sides.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. Okay. I think it's a bad idea, but I don't really want to try to defend it because I don't think I'm going to change your mind. It's just I'd rather talk about something else because it's just annoying me, and it's wasting my time. If you want to think everybody's crazy, fine. Think everybody's crazy.
Okay.
But when you say that, you sound crazy.
I'm not saying I'm not crazy.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. So everybody's crazy. That's good.
Everybody's crazy.
Okay, perfect.
But
in your world.
But as soon as I take that point, then it's hard for me to put down another group.
Okay, whatever you want to do. Okay.
Right. My problem we have with both left and right is that the other side's the bad guy. They're bad. They're evil. They got misintent. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, no. They're crazy. You're crazy. We're all crazy. Now let's go have the conversation.
Well, okay. I mean, if that's how you gotta like make it work in your mind, it's like okay. I would take a much more nuanced approach, but if that's the way you gotta start,
how would you take a nuanced approach?
I would say let's listen to your argument. Let's look at the data. Let's do some analysis. Who's it good for? Who's it not good for? And then we can start to evaluate the argument. But I mean, if you got to start with everybody's crazy, but if that's your starting point, it's like, okay. I mean, I don't need to start there, but maybe you do. So okay.
I need to start at a point where that the both sides see the other person as not different than them.
Well, yeah, but that's very difficult to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, if that's your solution, okay. I don't think it's an optimal solution. That's not my solution, but I'm not going to try to argue.
I don't know how you get someone on the other side who's truly on the other side of an argument, who's deep in it, to open their mind, to listen to the things you just said, to have the conversations, to bring out the points. Because the emotion that's involved in that gets so built into their thinking that there isn't logic going on.
Well, Chris, let me tell you something. As a strategy, starting out with "you're crazy" is not going in the right direction.
Yeah, so I don't go calling everyone crazy. I just assume we're all crazy, so that I have to respect everyone equally at the start.
Okay, I mean, if that's what you got to do in your hind, then okay, whatever you want to do, actually.
Yeah. So my question is, how do I get someone who's far left or right on one topic to sit down and have a conversation with someone on the other side and be open and listen to that conversation?
You don't even try.
How do you get them in the mindset? How do you get them in the mindset?
You don't. Because they just see things so differently. It's like you just can't. How can you argue with somebody that sees a gold dress or a blue dress? You can't. It's just a waste of my time. I'm not going to even try to do it. I mean,
so that's why there's hungry children in the world, and that's why we have so many gun deaths, and that's why. See, so this is what you're saying, is that it's not worth trying to make this change. Therefore, I'm not going to try. And this is what I'm seeing is it's a part of the reason why we put up with a lot of the crap we put up with in the world.
I'm gonna change my environment because it's not worth my time to do that. Yeah, exactly. I'll help locally, but I'm not going to help far away.
Mm-hmm. So this is why we have the number of people who are hungry today that we have. This is why we have the inequalities we have in the world today. It's because at the end of the day, I don't want to sit down with someone who disagrees with me and have that conversation.
I don't think it has anything to do with the conversation. It's taking action, right? So I know for a fact. Well, I don't know for a fact, but there's certainly no hungry kids within a small radius around my house. I know that. Mm-hmm. Because everybody knows.
So okay, I'm going to straw man you again.
Yeah.
So it's okay if America starves as long as the people in your neighborhood don't.
I didn't say it's okay. It's like, so what you do is, first of all, you act locally. That's where you take care of yourself first, so you have the energy to take care of your neighbor, so you can take care of the guy 2 steps down. That's where you start. Mm-hmm. Because the problem is too big. I can't fix every starving kid in the United States, like right now.
Okay.
But what I can fix is if I see a kid who's hungry across the street, I can solve his problem very fast. I have the resources to do that. I have the power to do that. I don't have the power to solve everybody's problem.
So I think the point I'm trying to get to here is if we're not willing to have the conversation with someone who we disagree with, then it's really hard to get even an agreement on the problem.
Well, of course, that is the problem, or one of the problems.
Yeah. But the idea here is, how do I get people who disagree so vehemently to sit down and have a conversation?
Well, here's what I would do.
And my thought to do that is to actually get them to all agree, to all see that they're just as crazy in their areas as what they see as craziness on the other side.
I suppose. I would use a different strategy. I would say that if somebody sees, I would ask them, hey, do you think that, could we work together? I know we disagree on pretty much everything, right? Not everything, but we agree on some things. Hey, do you want to come this Saturday from like 10 o'clock to noon and help feed like a bunch of hungry kids with me? Can we put our differences aside just long enough just to make sure, at least for today, those kids have something to eat? Mm-hmm. That's the way I would start. And they're like, okay. Because what I want to do is, instead of starting with everybody's crazy, I'm like, yeah, we disagree on a lot of things, but what can we agree on? And what can we do about it, like right now, in the tiniest little thing? Because that starts to build connections. And it's like,
And,
oh,
and
what else can we agree on?
I think that might be your ideal way to go when it comes to people being hungry, because I think that's one that people will tend to put less social judgment on.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because if we talk about guns, there's going to be philosophies and principles that are behind that, they're going to get in the way. We talk about gender, and there's going to be the same type of thing that gets in the way. But when we talk about the idea of, kids being hungry, that's one that you're probably fairly safe being able to have that conversation.
And it's a good starting point. And you can
and
point
getting
to
an
them.
agreement on.
And there's like 5 of them. Mike, Sarah, John, and Mark are hungry right now. Can we feed those little bastards right now? I'm not talking about talk. I'm not talking about social media. I'm talking about let's get them some food right now and put it in their mouth, like in the next 30 minutes. At least today. Maybe they'll be hungry tomorrow, but at least today they're not going to be hungry. We've just made the world a tiny better place. That's
I think
where
that would. I think I would agree with that, particularly in that approach, because that one I think is going to be less divisive.
Yeah. And then maybe we tackle another problem, and then we work together, right? To just like, we're not going to get rid of all the guns.
Your thought would be, let's find less, I don't want to say sensitive, maybe less sensitive, culturally sensitive problems, and agree to do something about them.
Do something about it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think
that might be your best bet to try to build some kind of cohesion in the middle.
Well, I know. That's why I said starting with crazy is not the best bet. I said starting with that.
My thought is the whole idea of starting with crazy is not to dismiss the other person, but for you to acknowledge that you're just like them.
Well, I would pick a different word because language matters. I would pick, listen, we all have differences of opinions and we hold them strongly, right? But can we agree?
Being politically correct, my use of the word crazy is if you can comfortably recognize your own craziness, then you are much more self-aware than the average person.
Yeah, I know, but I'm telling you, that's not a good place to start. It's not going to work. If you have to do that for yourself.
It's not the words I would use.
Okay, good, because you kept saying crazy. And
no. Yeah, this is the way my mind is thinking about it. Is I know that I'm just as crazy as everyone else out there.
Okay, well, perfect. Then you hold certain views very strongly. That's the way I would say it. It's like, but just right now, like just today, like literally in the next 30 minutes, could we work together to solve that particular problem? Like, and point it out specifically. Mark, Judy, John, Steve, whatever, Mary. It's like they're having a problem. Can we like put our petty differences aside for 30 minutes to go help them? Okay, I can do that.
So how do we get that conversation started?
Just like I said, you help a tiny problem that's like right in front of you. And you personify it. You put real people and real names onto it. It's not a bunch of hungry kids. It's that hungry kid.
Well, that's where your storytelling comes in.
Yeah. That's what all the politicians do. They always, like, this is a story about Judy, a single working mom with like 6 kids, right? She's just in a horrible spot. And people are like, shit, yeah. It's like, we're so busy fighting up here. It's like,
how do we lower the bar of effort for people to be able to take the first step on that?
Well, somebody's got to, that's called leadership. Somebody's got to take it and say, hey, can we go do this together? Because I know I can do 5 myself, but I can't do 50. But do you think we could get a few of us together and just agree on this one thing just today? Can we just put our differences aside just for a second? Maybe not a second, but for 2 hours. And most of the time they'll be like, okay.
I like where you're going with this. I'm running into my implementation issues. So,
well, you just do one at a time, man. That's all you can do. You do the one closest to you. If your neighbor's hungry.
So I think, but though the way it needs to work is you need to do it regardless of whatever is on the other side of a conversation here. Yeah. There doesn't need to be another side of a conversation for you to act.
Yeah, right. You can do it just because you care about other human beings.
And once you've done it and you've started to do it, then you can start talking about it to other people.
Yeah.
And try to build that middle ground on well, why are they hungry, or the government needs to give them more money, or they need to work harder, or whatever the argument, doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
because the point is you're acting to fix a symptom,
And so
and
then
eventually you hope to get to the problem.
and then what you do is you don't point them, they, social media. It's like, no, 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 no. It's you and me right now are going to go solve this problem today.
That makes a lot more sense to me, yeah, right? Because then it's not, I don't have to worry about what other people see. I don't have to worry about what other people say. It's not about getting likes. It's not about any of that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's about actually doing something for another human being right now. Yeah, I think that's where you start. And then maybe you tackle a little bigger problem. It's like, hey, that was pretty good. Maybe we agree on 90 or disagree on 99%, but hey, we agree on at least one thing, right? Maybe we could find a second thing we agree on. I mean, who knows, right? Maybe we could find out that we agree on most things. Maybe we just disagree on how they're going to get done or who needs to do them. And the reality is, maybe we need to decide that we need to do it, not them, because maybe them will never do it, or those guys. And that thing, that is a very conservative principle.
Which thing?
Yeah, that's a very conservative principle. So that's what the local church does. The local church says, look, we can't wait for government to solve this problem. We've got to solve it right now ourselves at the local community level. That's a very, very fundamental conservative principle that we've got to take the responsibility.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it that way, but I know what you're getting at. I don't want to use the word agency. It's responsibility.
Yeah, it's like, and
where does responsibility lie?
Yeah,
and so generally, on a more conservative view, it's on the individual.
And usually, it happens at the local church. That's when it typically.
Well, what's in the individual? The individual is represented by the church.
Yeah,
right. Because the
exactly.
church, or whatever local organization.
Yeah,
the Kiwanis Club, the whatever.
Whatever it is, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you end up with the idea that it's not the big organization's responsibility. It's the small organization. It's the individual's responsibility.
Yeah, because the big organization.
I do tend to associate that with more of a conservative viewpoint.
Yeah.
Right. The more progressive viewpoint is some big. The man is going to come in. Some big. I think it's funny that in the 60s, the man was what the liberals were all against the man, the government, or whatever, and now it's really about the government's going to do it all. Right.
Yeah.
Viewpoint.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's got to be some balance. But you got to remember, Chris, right? And this is what I'm going to try to get in their heads if I actually have to do this, is you got to remember the government, it's really a group of people. I mean, there's no such thing as the government. It's just a corporation is just a group of people. So everything is people. It's just how we organize things.
Okay, but
like when we say the government doesn't feed anybody. The government is a label that we put on a group of people.
The government is an organization that has the ability to control how we behave.
But it's people doing it. It always comes down to people.
But you as an individual do not have the ability to control how you behave within the bounds of law.
Not at the scale the government has. I mean, I do have some control over your behavior, right?
Within the bounds of the law?
No, I mean, not within the bounds of law. It depends on what my capabilities are, right? I mean, when it comes down to law of the jungle stuff. I mean, if you're trying to attack me, right? I mean...
Yeah, I said within the bounds of the law. So if you're not threatening me, then your ability to control me versus what the government's ability... The whole idea here is control, right? And so, the liberal side of things in the 60s was against the big government who would control everything and tell them what to do.
Yeah, right. Now that the Republicans,
right, and then somewhere, Republicans are always small government. We don't want, they wanted individuals to be responsible for what they did.
Yeah.
They didn't want
As
the government to get involved.
Right,
right,
exactly.
And then as times have changed, The liberal side has become we need big government to make big change,
Yeah, right.
and actually the conservative side, the rubbing side has been we need big government to do other things. It's all big government anymore. It's a problem.
I know.
But in general, so this isn't a Republican view in my mind. It's a conservative viewpoint that the individuals must take responsibility for their life, and that also means whatever organizations that the individual is in. So the church, the local whatever group,
Right.
and so that if they see a problem locally, they solve it locally.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right.
Because
Yeah, so I would agree with you. I would agree with you that the idea of acting to change your community is a more conservative view. Sorry, taking action to change your community is more of a conservative view.
Yeah. And most of the time, conservatives are Republicans. That they tend to go together.
Pushing the envelope, protesting, yelling, and screaming, I would say, is a more progressive view because you're trying to make change, and the way you make change is you push the envelope and you show people, you get people uncomfortable with where sitting
And I'm not
still.
saying that's a bad strategy, right? I mean, ultimately, you want to do both simultaneously. Both you want to help locally and try to help it scale simultaneously. But
So you help locally until the problem is clear until it's clear that that you're just it's just a symptom you're fixing. You're not fixing the problem.
yeah,
And then you get the progressive side that comes out and starts protesting all the stuff and pushes for change.
Yeah.
Then the change happens, and then we go back to it's a cycle of people do what they can to make the world bearable around them.
yeah,
And at some point it becomes unbearable, and then you get a progressive push to change.
yeah, right.
And then we go back to people do what they can to make the world as good about around them. It's like everything. It's cycles.
That's a cycle. Yeah, exactly. Right. But there's just certain principles that are written down in our Constitution, right? I'm not saying it's perfect, actually, but it's a pretty darn good way to organize a group of people.
So the difficulty that I see is that given media and tech and the way we've been able to parse information and get very specific information and facts means that people no longer see things the same way. They're not working with the same background. They're not working with the same information.
Yeah.
And so the world in which someone in one group lives is not the same as the world in which the person in the
very
other
different
group
worlds. Yeah, exactly.
lives. Even though you and I see the same reality,
Yeah.
they don't see the same reality.
Yeah. Right. Well, we don't see the
Right.
same reality all the time. It's like very different,
No, but if we were to talk about facts that we agreed upon, in general, if you stated a fact, I'd probably say, yeah, that's a fact.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Whereas I think a lot of people, even if you said a fact, they'd be, that's not a fact. They would ignore the fact.
Maybe
right?
they don't see that.
So there's a distinction there in that, and I think people who tend to be more middle of the road tend to have a more fact-based reality, I guess I would say, as opposed to people who tend to have much more stronger opinions on things, tend to have a selective reality.
Yeah, I've talked to certain people, and they're definitely conservative Republicans, but they're freaking idiots. And it's like I can't talk to them because they're just. I mean, I agree with your point,
but their point is ideologically based without any thought behind it.
You haven't thought
right?
it through.
So then it just becomes I'm parroting something.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. That goes back to my Bloom's level 1 thinking. Level 1 thinking is I just wrote memory.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah, it isn't until you get to level 4, 5, and 6 where people are actually adding to what they're thinking. Their thinking actually comes into play.
Yeah, because the problem, there's a lot of problems in the Republican Party, tons of problems actually. I just tend to agree more with the fundamental theory than I do with the Democrats. Well, and I don't want to say that because but the old Democrats are fine. The Democrats 30 years ago,
the old school Democrats, yeah,
the Bill Clintons of the world, right? Except for his little blue dress problem, But that's been a problem, forever on both sides.
Wait, the gold dress or the blue dress?
The blue dress, yeah. No, that was the blue dress, I don't have a problem with that because things kind of made sense, a little bit. But now the new ones they're just whack jobs.
But Scott, is there a reason why it's changed?
Yeah, because I think what happened is like there's a tiny percentage of what I would call the real crazies have gotten in, and they've it's like the tail wagging the dog. It's just crazy. That'll
So
agree with you on
so
crazy.
so there's an interesting thing I heard someone mention the other day is this is the marketing the British marketing guy Rory Sutherland, and he was commenting the way for you to keep your clout in an organization
Yeah.
is to push the boundaries of that
Yeah,
organization.
right. I got it. Yeah.
So if you're a liberal viewpoint, if you're liberal and your viewpoint is we're all equal, we need to do whatever,
Yeah.
you start to push the boundaries further and further over into that, and that's where we get a lot of the woke agenda and stuff that happened over the last several years.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing is true on the conservative side. I think what ends up happening is you have basic conservative values.
Yeah.
And then you say, but to keep the attention, to keep people watching me, to keep the clicks coming, to keep the dollars coming, I push the envelope a little more deeper and deeper.
Yeah, right.
So what we get is the people we hear on social media, the people we see are the ones who are really at the edges of
Oh,
both sides.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And what's happened is because that's all we see, what we see is the center of each side is moving further and further apart.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't think it truly is moving apart. It's just what we see is that it's getting a little bit crazier every day on one side or the other, and suddenly we're like, oh my gosh, the conservatives are this way, the liberals are this way, and it's like, actually they're not. That's a small subset who's got all the attention and all the noise that makes you think that they're really that far over there.
But
So
see-
I think that's part of it. But I do think there's a lot of social change going on with ever since the 1950s. We're living more on credit. There's
Yeah.
a lot more debt. There's a lot more wealth inequality. There's a lot of changes that have occurred over time. I think, things like Citizens United allowing companies to spend as much money as they want to on politics. All these things in combination have changed the world in ways that society isn't comfortable with as a
Yeah.
whole. And what we see is the expression of that discontent
Yeah.
coming by kind of doubling down on one side or the other. You double down and become more conservative, or you double down and become more liberal.
Yeah, yeah, because it's in defense against the other side. Like one
Yeah.
of the, who I actually like more and more is the Young Turks, which are kind of radically on the left. But I mean, at least they kind of make some arguments. At least they're like, they point out how stupid the
and
Democrats are.
they'll criticize the crazy parts of their side too.
I know, and I like that or whatever like that. And they hate Trump, but they're like, okay, at least on this one thing, Trump is doing a good thing. So why can't we just support Trump on this one thing? And they're like, yeah. Anyways,
Well, because they're not captured by the idolatry
Yeah.
of him in one way or the other, or the demonization of him, or the idolatry of him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like he's a person who I don't like, but hey, this is good. I mean, a lot of people talked about when he invited is it the mayor of New York, Mondavi, to the White House, and that seemed like a really cool meeting that they
think
had.
that
And
was good.
they got together really well, and I'm like, see, that's what I want to see more of.
Yeah.
I want to see the fact that he can get along with people.
Yeah.
Because he can. He can get along with anybody.
Well, and I think Trump is very pragmatic. He's
Yes.
like, listen, we just got to fix this thing somehow,
Well, I think he does like a winner.
Oh,
And
of
let's
course.
face it.
Of course.
Let's face it. The guy won New York.
Yeah.
He won.
Yeah.
No, there's no doubt about it, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you could have different ideologies, but if you surround yourself with people who are winning all the time, you're going to have a mindset of winning all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm curious to see how that whole thing's gonna
New York,
pan
you
out.
mean?
No, New York and the leadership and this just kind of interesting.
It'll be interesting because I think he'll try to make a lot of changes. I think the system itself will get in the way
Yeah, of course. It's
because the
always
system is what it is, and we'll see how much change he can actually make. Yeah, generally speaking, I don't know what America's comfort level with socialism is. I mean, we all have some because we accept schools, we accept fire department, police department. So there's a certain level of socialism
yeah.
we accept. I do wonder what the threshold is because I think a lot of people don't realize that we are socialist as we are. Not that we are overly socialist, but that we have the socialism that we have. They think of us as not being socialist at all, but we actually are to a certain extent. Every society pretty much has to have some level of socialism.
yeah.
Some
You
level.
got to define socialism by saying it's sort of
Yeah, so socialism here is not the government control of industry and economy.
yeah.
Right. Socialism here is the selected services that are given to. Yeah.
And
They
and, and
basically they take over industries and they govern them for us. The military,
yeah.
instead of having us all hire our own military, they take over the service of needing a military and they socialize that.
And that's because it's very efficient, right? Because you get a tremendous economies of scale by like grouping those things together.
I don't know if the military is efficient anymore. I think what you end up with, though, is with a centralized command and control system that allows you to be focused and get better results if you actually have to go to war.
In speed, it's much faster, right? Exactly, it's more effective. Probably not long term effective, but
I think on a cost basis, it's not as efficient. But it's not as efficient, effective. I think it's more effective, not so much efficient.
yeah, because it's so corrupt, right? I mean, everybody's got deals with this, and we'll give it to this contractor,
Yeah,
and everybody gets a
so
cut.
I do wonder how much of that would go away if we shrank the civil service.
Yeah,
So the civil service, I think we need. I think it's critically important. I think we need consistency from presidency to presidency. And I think I forgot the name of the law that went into effect in late 1880s, 1890s, that basically created the civil service, so that basically you didn't change the entire government every time the president changed.
yeah, right.
I think it's a very valuable thing, but I do think, as with any bureaucracy, it's just grown,
It just
grown.
grows too much fat. Yeah,
And it hasn't had a I don't know, a culling. We haven't pruned it back the right way.
Yeah.
I still go back to the garden idea, right?
no, at least you got
the gardener prunes his tree.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right?
So it grows
Because he wants the
strong.
tree to look. This is the way the tree needs to look.
Yeah, right.
These branches over here that are growing off the side are not helping. Let's cut those off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree on all that. As long as we can be somewhat efficient. Okay, Chris. Anything else before we wrap up? Because I gotta go in a few minutes.
Anything else? Let's see. What did I write down? We did AI. We didn't really go into the conflicting ideas thing. The idea of how when you come up, when you're looking into something and you get multiple pieces of information that don't fit together, how do you build your right idea as to what's the truth? Excuse me.
Oh,
or what's real?
In that particular case, what I do is I try to think through it, and I'm like going, does that make sense? And if I see conflicting things, I tend to first go to the fact that these are probably symptoms and there must be understood deeper. So if I keep digging, I'm going to hit like what the truth is. And basically it's the same truth, just viewed from different perspectives. And that's what I typically find. Like, for instance, like one thing that I have kind of clarity on right now is that before there was always the argument of, oh, do we do the vegan thing or do we do the carnivore thing, right? And the reality is they both work, and they both work really well. But there is some argument to the fact that, well, how long do they work well? And is there any long-term consequences of doing one versus the other? And then what I started to come up with is another doctor, he's like, no, they both work. They're both fine. They have strengths and weaknesses for each one. But he said, the core problem is that the food is corrupt. So whether you're eating plant food or meat food, they've jacked it up. That's the actual problem. I'm like, oh, okay. Then you start going down, and you're like, okay, that makes sense. That totally makes sense in that particular case. So I think went down to a level that it's like, then the answer is, probably the best answer long term is, hey, eat a little both. Eat a little beef, eat a little bacon, eat some plants. I mean, it's all good. Just try to get them as close to the farm as possible without like big agriculture messing them up or big farming messing them up. That'll be healthy. So then that's what I do. So I always look for commonalities and try to dig down as deep as I can. But it's hard work though.
Well, and so when you're doing it, let's do the vegan diet. So I'm looking for the healthiest diet, okay? And I got this group over here saying that the vegan diet's the way to go.
Right.
And that's because saturated fat's the problem.
Yeah.
And this group over here is saying that the carnivore diet's the way to go because carbs and plants are the source of are going to plants are trying to kill us, right?
Yeah,
or whatever it is. What do you do next?
Then I start to understand when you say plants are trying to kill us, like what plants, right? Because all plants are different.
So first thing you say is you question, is that true?
Why say that which plants? Because when you say plants, that means all plants in my mind.
So you're assuming he's right in saying that plants are trying to kill us.
Well, no, I'm assuming maybe some plants are trying to kill us, right?
So you're saying there might be some truth in that. So let's figure out.
Yeah, but which plant, right?
Mhm.
Because when you say plants, that means all plants, and that's not true. It's like I don't think an apple is trying to kill me. I don't think so. I don't think a grape is trying to kill me. I mean, certain kinds of food has maybe certain poisons that are not super good for me. I don't know, maybe. But then the one guy's like, oh, if you cook them, then it gets rid of certain toxins and they're safe to eat. And I think I'm like, okay. So I just keep digging down and say which plants, and I'm like, which food, and it's like saturated fat bad for you. I'm like, well, no, but at the same time, I wouldn't base your diet on just I wouldn't eat bacon 24/7, massive quantities of it either. I mean, I don't think that's probably a good thing. And then you start digging in deeper, and then I found that, well, like the Mediterranean diet is probably the best overall diet. A little here, a little there, which kind of makes sense, right? I'm like, it sort
But
of
the Mediterranean
intuitively
diet,
makes
you also
sense.
think about it culturally. They tend to cook their own foods.
Yeah.
They're starting from scratch in many cases. We're not using pre-cooked and canned foods necessarily, right? Because there's a real distinction there. When you actually prepare your own food,
Yeah.
you put a lot less chemicals in it. You
Yeah.
put a
Right.
lot less other ingredients into it. You're probably going to get closer to something that had to be nearby when it was made.
Yes. Right.
So, I mean, as soon as you start to cook, I really wonder if we went back to just people cooking their own meals, how much healthier America would get.
Way healthier, actually. Yeah. Way healthier.
Right. Because then the other thing is you would need to have the infrastructure to support that. You would
Yeah.
need to have those food deserts would actually have to have fresh produce and things that are available
Yeah.
to people
Yeah.
to eat.
Yeah, and I don't want to
Right.
go down the road of that. That is just one example of how I would handle that particular problem.
So what I'm thinking though is what your goal is. What triggered you in the first place? You said, I want to find the healthiest diet.
Oh, because I was sick, man. I had diabetes, had all these issues. I couldn't sleep. I mean, there are all these things like, look, I got to fix myself, you know? So I'm like, doctor ain't going to frickin' do it. That's for sure.
Because
So,
quite often what will happen with me is I will hear a statement which makes no sense to me, which
Yeah.
doesn't ring true.
yeah, right.
It'll be on the news. It'll be someone stating something, and I'll say, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
And
right.
what'll happen is it doesn't make sense because of my understanding of the world is that's not the way the world works.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So whatever pieces of information I've collected over the course of my life, that doesn't fit in.
Yeah.
So then what I've got to do is I've got to true that up.
Yeah.
So I've got to look into that and say, are they wrong or am I wrong?
Yeah, right. Or a little bit of both, probably, you know?
Yeah. But so sometimes it turns out they're absolutely right. And so I've got to rework my understanding of the world to include that either it's a massive change of my thinking or it's just, oh, that's the little nuance.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
little one-off, right? But or it could just be, and usually it is, the other side is wrong.
Yeah. Could be.
You know, and in my case, I think I have a pretty strong model of the world in my head.
Yeah.
So I think in most cases I am right and they're wrong.
Yeah, okay, there
But
you go.
not always. Not
Yeah,
always. I mean, you know, and so you always have to ask yourself, does that ring true?
Yeah.
And when someone says something, especially when someone says something factually that you know is not true.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we often quote these facts about. I just heard yesterday said they were talking about, you know, the marshmallow test they give to kids,
Yeah.
right? Right, where they gave a kid, here's a marshmallow. If you can eat it now, or if you don't eat it for 10 minutes, we'll give you 2 marshmallows or whatever.
You want
right?
one now or two later, right? Exactly.
Yeah, and they did a test, and apparently that's been debunked according
Oh.
to someone I was
Oh,
listening to,
interesting.
and I
Okay.
and I had never heard that it had been debunked. So I now
Yeah.
on my list of things to do is to go research that and say, has that really been debunked?
Yeah.
In which case, if it has been, then the next time someone uses that story of the marshmallow test, I'm going to be like, they don't know that that's been debunked, so they're using it as part of their narrative. How does that impact what they're telling me?
See, here's how I think about it. I never think of is it true or not true. I always ask questions, how true is it? I always put it on a slider. Because there's no doubt whether it's true or not, that actual story, the fact that if you can have emotional control and delay gratification for some period of time, you're almost always better off.
I think I do put it on a spectrum.
Okay, as long as you put it on a spectrum,
But the question I ask is that true? And in essence, the expected answer is maybe or sort of.
Okay,
kind
yeah,
of.
but seriously though, because is that true? you're asking a black or white question. If you ask how true is it, you,
I never expect the answer to be black and white.
okay, I know, but
If
if
that
you,
makes sense.
but for the average person, somebody that's not as smart as you are, I would say put the word how in front of it, because that just opens up a whole level, and it also allows the other person, because it stops from putting them in a corner. Like if you ask, "Are you sure?" Right? It's a very it's a because now they got to tighten up and say, yeah, 100%, or no, I'm not sure at all. Or say, how sure are you? It's like, man, I think we're like 80%. I'm mostly sure, but there's this part that I'm not sure about, and that just gets us so much better information flow. You know?
Yeah, I think asking it that way makes sense. I would love it if people could answer it that way. I think most people can't answer it that way.
Well, but you
so if
got
you
to
say
ask
how,
the question differently.
so if you say how sure are you of that,
Yeah.
it gives them an out, which I think is good. But I bet you they'd say, "Oh, yeah, it's true. I know it's true." Right?
Maybe you don't know. You got to test it. I would think that you're going to be
How
surprised by the question.
I would hope I'm surprised, but so far when I ask people questions, they generally are like, "That's the truth,"
Are
or
you
"That's the
using those
fact."
exact words? Or are you asking how sure are you? Are you putting into the question definitely a spectrum?
So when someone tells me that this is the reason why this is, and I said, is that a fact or is that probability?
Oh, see, I think that's too technical. I'd say, hey, do this for me on a scale of 1 to 10. Like, give me a number, right? Because if you ask them, fact or probability, they see embedded in that question itself is something that's very aggressive. That's the problem with the question. And you're forcing them to make a yes or no answer. It's like, what I want to do is I want to give that person full reign to give me the best answer possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because questions steer focus. So I would say, I don't think you ask the question. I think you might be open to the answer, but they're not used to it. Because what they're afraid of, Chris, is I'm telling you what they're afraid of. They're afraid of, you coming back and saying, oh, you're weaseling, or I need an answer, I need somebody to commit, I need yes or no, or you for me, against me. And it's like, those are hard things, and we're trained to do that. And I say if the other person gives you flexibility, I think as a team you get better answers. Anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. I'm trying to think how often I say, how sure are you? I do use that once in a while. Usually when someone says something, but usually they're also saying it in a way where they're not saying it with complete confidence.
Yeah.
So if someone says, yeah, that's probably the way it's going to be. So how sure are you of that? How do you think about that?
Yeah, but I'd say if you
why are you thinking that way?
Yeah, and it's okay. And you got to give them permission at that particular case. Because, hey, I'd rather have accurate information, or I'd rather say I don't know than you tell me you know, and then it turns out it's not true. It's like I'd rather know that up front. And I think
and I would prefer to have your educated guess over no educated guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give me your best guess. I just think if you ask those questions differently, it's just like, I can't remember the negotiation guy, always use calibrated questions. Say, hey, it looks like you're, having a hard day. It looks like you're a little angry about something. Like, what's going on? It's just, you get better answers, I think.
Anyways. You mean Chris Voss?
Yeah, Chris Voss, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think those questions, I think the way you answer the words you say and how you say them, damn, Chris, there is so much information in that sort of stuff.
Well, is it Chase Hughes? Is that the guy's name?
Yeah, I've heard about him. I don't know much about him. I probably know if I saw him.
Yeah, he talks about getting information out of people without asking questions.
Yeah.
Right? You just make statements and you let them correct your statement.
That's one way if there's not a power differential. If there's a power differential.
Like the example he gave in Diary of a CEO was, he was saying, let's say I need to figure out how much money somebody makes at Starbucks or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not allowed to ask a question.
Oh, okay. Those are different that's an interrogation.
Yeah, so it's an interrogation idea. How do I get someone to offer that information?
Yeah. That's a
And so
difference.
he would bring up something like, "Hey, I heard that Starbucks just signed a deal that you're all going to be getting paid $25 an hour."
Oh yeah.
And he goes,
Yeah.
"What are you talking about? I only make blank."
Yeah, I know. That's manipulation. I got that. I'm not talking about that,
Yeah, no, he's talking. It's really interesting though because he says quite often, you can use people's psychology just to because they want to be right. They will correct you if
Yeah,
you're wrong.
no, I
So
got you.
you purposely state things incorrectly.
I got you. That's a technique. I'm trying to just get real information out of that person and make it okay for them to say, I don't know, or I'm uncomfortable, we're not sure. Like we're confident here, but this is the part I don't know about. Like, man, if UPS doesn't get here today by 10:30 a.m., there's no way this thing's going out. But bosses never want to hear that. They want certainty. They want to hear just frickin' say yes, And that's what I'm trying to get away from.
Yeah, usually.
Just tell me it's going to happen. Make it happen, or some stupidity like that. Actually, the bosses do.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because nothing's that predictable. So
yeah, because then you can start talking about it. You can start talking about it. Well, because what I want to know as a boss is I want to know. So is this thing going out today, or how sure are you? It's like, yeah, we're sure. The only thing that could mess it up is FedEx if it doesn't come at 10:30, and then, then we're kind of screwed. It's like, oh shit. Well, because now you can start to solve it. It's like, well, you do know that, like the guys next door, I know they've got like a secret stash of this stuff, and if FedEx doesn't get here at 10:30, which we want it to, but if it comes tomorrow, I'll bet you they could loan you theirs for 24 hours. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I didn't know that was even a possibility or not. And I'm saying it just get people talking. And that's my thought. That's why that's embedded into the question. I want to give them permission to be honest is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it depends on the kind of person, right? Who the kind of boss you're talking about. Some of them don't want to know the nuances. Some of them do want to know the nuances.
Yeah, some
right?
bosses are like, just frickin' make it happen. I don't.
And then the other thought is, if you've hired competent people that you trust and you've empowered them,
yeah,
then you're relying on their capabilities. So it's like, I don't need to know that detail because you're going to cover it.
Yeah,
that's a different thing.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Chris, is you may not know the information that we've got some of that stashed over there for a rainy day, right?
I understand that, but Scott, I think to a certain extent that as the larger the organization you're leading becomes, you're not going to be the one who generally is the solution for that. The larger your team, the more it's about letting the team's knowledge and capabilities shine through, and it's building the empowerment and the trust in them to get it done.
Yeah,
I think on the smaller scale, you're right. You're the one who knows more, and so letting them show doubt allows you to correct.
Yeah, and I'm not so much saying correct. I just want to make sure everybody's got all the information actually. And this is in group meetings, right, where this happens. I just want to get away from the black and white thinking. I think that is super dangerous in most cases.
And yeah, so this is where I think the distinction here is when you get to a high enough level in a company, the expectation is you got the knowledge and the skills to adapt to the situation.
Yeah,
right?
but you still don't know all the information actually necessarily. That's why we have meetings, is because other people can, oh, did you know that we actually signed another deal and there's another courier that's, did you, oh, I didn't know that. When did you do that? Oh, I just did it yesterday.
Yeah. So I'm not discounting what you're saying, but the level of thinking that I'm at right now in how I'm seeing this is really, it's up to the individual to know what to bring up and what not to bring up. You're trusting that person's skills to know to bring that up, saying, "Hey, we're gonna make the schedule. This is the only variable."
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay as long as you're in an organization where it's okay to make mistakes, where it's okay to say, "I don't know."
Yeah. No, you need to have the ability to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And you need to understand, ultimately, the old boss needs to understand. Ultimately, it's their responsibility.
Yeah. As long as you give people that safety and trust
If
to do that.
if someone under you screws up, it's your fault.
Yeah,
That's it.
right. Yeah. Yeah, and you always take the blame. You're like, it's not that guy did it. It's I messed up. I should have thought through that more carefully.
And we'll correct it. We'll fix it. We'll change the system. Whatever we'll
change
need
it.
to do to avoid it in the future.
Yeah.
But the idea here is that person should not be. Yeah. Now the funny thing is though, when you have a tight knit team and someone screws up like that, quite often they will punish themselves more than you ever could.
Yeah, which is actually really good, right? Which is what you want.
It shows buy-in into the team level and a level of like, no, I can't drop the ball here because the team relies on me.
Yeah, exactly. But too much of corporate America, half your time is spent just doing CYA anyways, right? So it's not my fault.
Way too much of corporate America.
Not my fault. I didn't see anything, man. You know, in fact,
it's not in my job description.
In fact, you know what? It's actually your fault because you should have thought about that because you're the boss. It's like you're getting paid the big bucks.
I've never had that problem in the companies I've been. It's usually been we know more and the boss won't listen.
Yeah, no, which is probably 90% true, actually. Yeah.
Right, because the person in the weeds knows the details.
Yeah. Almost always. That's where so that's why you always want to try, in my opinion, to push authority to where the information lives.
As close to the thing as possible. Yes.
Yeah, and big corporate is like the information bubbles up and then but all the information never bubbles up. And it's so crazy because you could have the guy on the line that all you'd have to do is go down and talk to him. Hey, how do we improve this thing? It's like, oh, dude. Like we've had the same problem for like 4 years and nobody will freaking listen to me, right?
Yeah, I was talking to a guy who worked on a medical device, industry line, and he said, yeah, when they started to have, they hired people who went out and just talked to the workers.
Yeah, right. He's like, what's going on?
And they figured out so many just process changes they could make that would improve the throughput.
Yeah.
Right. And then of course they also recognized, was it Goodhart's law? When the measurement of something becomes the goal, it becomes a bad measurement.
Yeah.
So it's like we're going to measure throughput. You have to put out 2 of these every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And suddenly quality goes down because now all you have to do is get 2 per every 5 minutes.
I know. It could be the dumbest thing. It's like, why are we constantly missing shipments? It's like, oh, because we don't have a packing label tape thing right here, and we always have to walk 300 yards to go get it. And so you're freaking telling me for the past 3 years we've had this problem, and we could have solved it with a $50 piece of tape, with a $50 tape gun. Yeah, pretty much. But nobody would listen. You're just like, for God's sakes.
The last company I worked for, they needed to have metrics to put on the website to show that things were moving, but we had gotten through most of the work already.
Yeah.
So the main thing that was taking up our time was change requests because they were all done manually.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the change requests have nothing to do with the success of the program.
I know.
They were just one little process we did that was, I don't know, 5%. It didn't even count for 5% of what it was.
Yeah.
We weren't measuring any of the real things that came out of it.
Yeah. I know. It's just, but the MBAs and the CEOs living in ivory towers, they're so far disconnected from like the actual real business,
Yeah, this is why the guy who works himself up from the mailroom and the idea that he knows every aspect of the company.
Yeah.
I mean, there is something about knowing every part of a company.
Oh my
really,
gosh, yeah. So you can start to see all the. Oh, you're like, I see.
I mean, and that's where a huge amount of value comes from your middle management people, the ones who are actually doing the work, not the ones who are just eating up resources.
Yeah,
is they know how the company works. They know who does what. They know how. They are the grease in the machine, right?
Yeah,
because the gears don't all fit together. So you need grease to make everything work.
Yeah.
There's people in the company who are the grease to make things work.
Yeah. And it's hard. Sometimes it's hard because, it could be a supplier problem. And it's because of the CEO's, brother-in-law. And we have to buy from him. And he freaking sucks. His quality is shit. And he charges twice as much. We got 7 other suppliers who would fix it immediately.
But your parts guy who deals with him knows how to work him and get things good enough that at least the company operates.
Yeah.
And then that guy gets fired or cut or he gets sick or he leaves and suddenly everything breaks.
Yeah, everything breaks.
And it was already a broken thing, but he was the glue that kept it working.
Yeah.
And now he's gone.
Yeah, he duct taped it together to make it work somehow.
Yeah. Right. So there's a lot of things that people don't understand. Most businesses do not run well.
No. Tons.
It takes time and effort and money and hard decisions to run well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right, Chris. With that, are we
Good
going to wrap
talking to you.
up?
I think we're done. Yeah. So, again, we keep forgetting to tell people to subscribe and to comment and
We should
tell
tell
us
them
how
up front.
liberals are better than conservatives or other way around. What?
Yeah, we should tell them up front because nobody's ever going to get to the end of this video. So
No one's ever going to get to the end of these.
exactly.
Well, one of these days we'll feed all these into AI and have it just start creating these for us.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Chris.
All righty.
We'll see ya.
I'll talk to you later, Scott.